Seoul and Washington have struck a trade deal, both sides agreeing to cut tariffs on U.S. imports from South Korea to 15%, down from the 25% that U.S. President Donald Trump had threatened to impose. South Korea President Myung calling this deal a major diplomatic achievement for the export-driven economy. CNN's Lim Yun Suk tells us more.
South Koreans woke up Thursday morning to the news that Seoul and Washington had reached a deal, allowing South Korea's products, including auto exports, to face a 15% tariff, down from 25%. The presidential office was quick to give a media briefing in the morning. It said the most remarkable outcome of the deal was a shipbuilding cooperation package.
한미 조선협력펀드 1,500억 불은 선박 건조, MRO, 조선 기자재 등 조선업 생태계 전반을 포괄하며 우리 기업들의 수요에 기반해 구체적 프로젝트에 투자될 예정입니다.
Analysts in Seoul say South Korea is well positioned to propose cooperation in the sector, where few countries have the expertise or scale to help revive the U.S. shipbuilding industry. Once a global leader, South Korea is now second after China in this industry. Under the deal, South Korea agreed to make a $350 billion investment in the U.S. and also purchase $100 billion worth of liquefied natural gas. Mr. Kim also confirmed that there would be no further opening up of its rice and beef markets.
미국과의 협의 과정에서 우리 농축산물 시장 개방에 대한 강한 요구가 있었던 것이 사실입니다. 그러나 식량 안보와 우리 농업의 민감성을 감안해 국내 쌀과 쇠고기 시장은 추가 개방하지 않는 것으로 합의하였습니다.
Still, it remains unclear if South Korea agreed to open up some of its other agricultural markets. Some 30 labor and farm activists held a rally outside the U.S. Embassy in Seoul on Thursday, saying the deal was somewhat unfair.
한국은 미국과 한미 FTA를 맺고 있고 양국은 상호 관세를 0% 가깝게 다가서고 이러한 상황에서 미국은 일방적으로 한국에서 15% 관세와 함께 자동차에도 15% 관세를 부과한다는 부당하기 짝이 없는 행보를 지속하고 있다.
Many South Koreans are waiting for further details and will be watching closely to see what comes out of a planned summit meeting between the leaders of the two countries set to take place in Washington within 2 weeks. Lim Yun Suk, CNA, Seoul.
And for more on tariffs and deals and deadlines, we're joined by Kate Fisher live from Washington, D.C. Kate, we are, if I look at the clock now, just over 15 hours to that 12:01 Eastern Time deadline that Mr. Trump has set. There are only that many people and that many hours in a day. Should anyone hold out hope that they will get a deal before this deadline?
Well, there certainly seems to be a real flurry of activity in these final hours. You mentioned there South Korea and Pakistan have just concluded deals. Taiwan, Malaysia look to be in the final throes of it. But it's certainly not the 90 deals in 90 days that the Trump administration was promising at the beginning of all this. And this is the third time the deadline has been pushed forward. But Donald Trump has said that, this deadline will stand strong. So certainly we are counting down the hours. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has just been speaking on the television here in Washington in the last hour, expressing confidence that the big one, that deal between the US and China, the world's two largest economies, he says they are on the way to a deal as that deadline nears. He said, and I quote, "I believe we have the makings of a deal," during that interview, saying there's still a few technical details to be worked out on the Chinese side between us, but I'm confident that it will be done, although at the moment it is not 100% done. He didn't provide the details on what that deal would look like, and he did stress that he hasn't spoken to Donald Trump about it. He and the US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer will be speaking to the president today about those details, noting that the negotiators from the Chinese side were tough, but he said the US side were tough too. The other big one that is yet to be looks not that close is India. Yesterday, Donald Trump saying that 25% tariffs and a penalty would be going to India at this deadline because of its assistance to Russia in the Ukraine war. Scott Bessent this morning describing India as frustrating and not a great global actor. So still some work to do with the Indian negotiators, certainly. But some other countries, it certainly looks like Malaysia and Taiwan, for example, are getting close.
Kate, as you mentioned, India getting a bit of a stumbling block because of its possible assistance to Russia. So lots of issues, security issues, also being bundled into issues on trade. And Canada's Prime Minister coming out to say Canada will join Britain and France in recognizing a Palestinian state in September. That has jeopardized trade talks between Canada and the United States.
Yes, you're right. It's not just economics at play here. Donald Trump is pulling politics and military, thoughts into all these negotiations as well. Scott Bessent just this morning described the negotiations with China as three-dimensional chess, for example, because it isn't just about economics. It's about security, military abilities, and so much more. And when it comes to Canada, yes, there's real frequent back and forth between Canada and the US over these tariffs. Of course, Canada was hit with tariffs even before Trump announced these so-called reciprocal tariffs in April. It's now facing 35% tariffs on various goods from that August the 1st deadline. And now Donald Trump also threatening to increase that rate in case of retaliation. And then that is separate from any other sectoral tariffs. And now you have this new threat from Donald Trump about the recognition of Palestine, also adding into the mix, only complicating things in these final few hours that they have to sort things out. And of course, also similar to China, Donald Trump's issue with Canada is he believes that it's allowing drugs like fentanyl to flow freely over its border. And that's another reason he's using to make these tariffs so harsh. Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, has said that they are in an intense phase of talks, and noting that it would be unlikely for an agreement not to include tariffs eventually. But at the moment, we don't know if that's going to happen before this deadline.
Oh, thanks. Kate Fisher there live from Washington, D.C.